Huge changes coming to SBA. We're hearing rumors of a 43% headcount reduction. I believe President Trump has said that student loans will be going from the Department of Education to SBA. We've also heard about 9-month-olds getting loans. What the heck is going on there? When in doubt, I talked to the concierge to small business lending. Bo, I don't know where to start. Do we start with the layoffs? Do we start with 9-month-olds getting loans? Where do we go from all this?
Well, there was a ton of fraud. They're still uncovering it, like billions and billions of fraud during the idle and PPP time. I mean,
Yeah.
like people were saying they had 100 employees, they had no employees. I think they're gonna catch some of that, but maybe like 10% gets caught and the rest go free. So billions of dollars gone. I mean, they had to get the capital out, but in my opinion, the capital really went to the people that didn't need the money. For example, like the EDILs. Most of the people that were in business that were doing quite well actually got this bump,
Wave of
right?
money. Yeah.
Right. And so then that actually, which if you really look at it, it's the smartest way because they were the ones that were most probable to pay back the 30-year loan because it's a 30-year loan at 3.75. But it really went to people like that, which weren't the ones that were actually hurting the most. So
Yeah.
interesting times. But obviously we have a new president. We have a new
Mm.
SBA administrator, Kelly Loeffler, and she has banking ties. So there's a lot of changes. So there was a lot of for what I'm getting, they said there was a lot of extra employees brought in during PPP time and all that stuff. So they're going to reduce workforce by 43%, which is I think somewhere around 2,700 jobs. And the average, and I read somewhere the average person was making about 120 or 135, so decent money. I don't know how true or not true that is. They're also, yeah, you're right about the student loans, right? So apparently, if they shut down the Department of Education, SBA is going to take control of this. There's essentially 44 million people that have student loans.
Yeah.
44 million people.
It's like $1
right?
trillion or like 1.8. It's like a gargantuan number.
And they forgave some. I don't know all the rules because I don't really pay attention to student loans. I should probably from an economic standpoint, but they're talking about clawing back now too.
Really?
Some of the deals that are forgiven. I don't know what the rules are. So you imagine they forgave like $100,000 of student debt and they come back after you. I don't know if that. Well, I guess they can do whatever they want. The
Yeah, I
other
don't know. That's
the other
crazy.
updates in SBA financing is so they have an SBA guarantee fee, which basically is like a big slush fund that goes to SBA to cover losses.
Is that like PMI? Is it
Kind of,
similar
yeah.
to Yeah,
I
kind
would
of, right?
say,
Okay. Like
yeah,
an insurance policy.
yeah. And so
Okay.
the big news there is the rates of the fees have gone up. So for example, loans from 0 to 150, they stayed the same because they want to push small loans.
Sure.
150 to 700,000, the guarantee fee was 2.75. It moved to 3%.
Okay.
And from 700,000 to a million, it went from 3.5%. So a 0.5% for that, maybe because they're seeing a lot of deals in that range. And then everything above that, a million and higher went up a quarter. So there's a little bit more added cost. So what that tells me is they're seeing more defaults and they're hedging the downside risk by collecting more fees to stabilize. Sure. And they do, for example, they rolled out a working capital program loan where your financials don't have to cash flow as long as you have revenue. So that's kind of like an SBA Express product. So I can tell you, guarantee you're going to have a high default on that because basically you're saying, hey, it's okay if you don't debt service, as long as you have revenue. So they always like go too crazy on the program and then they have to overcorrect, right? Like they have to have some kind of like happy medium. I think in the world, that's how things work. They lower rates too much, and then we have a negative effect. They raise rates too much. They need to learn how to pace themselves and wait a few months.
Let me talk about that 43%. I mean, let's just call it half because it's easier math. And actually, let me talk about your kind of day job, your week, your month. You typically spend most of your time with banks and lenders. You're not directly communicating with SBA. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I work with the banks. I'm involved in for example, there's a guy named Bob Coleman. He writes the Coleman Report. I'm in his mastermind group. And he writes a lot of white papers on SBA. He's been doing this for years. And I'm also a member of NAGO, which is National Association of Government Guaranteed Lenders. But that's where they're like the national trade organization. So that's where I get kind of the banker perspective, as I'm just more of a broker. But that's what makes me a better broker, is understanding the changes. But not direct SBA.
Yeah. So again, I have zero experience with SBA, obviously, but I've run many businesses. I've also unfortunately gone through layoffs as an executive. It's not a lot of fun. But when you have that kind of drastic cut, my mind goes to, what's the level of service going to be for net new loans, right? Because that's revenue. I then think about customer service, like the people that have existing loans. And then I think about kind of fraud and credit, like loan workouts. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces that are revenue generated. A lot of those things can't be done, or at least can't be done in detail by software. It's a person, right, with experience. So, dude, 43%, let's call it half. That's a gigantic cut. And oh, by the way, let's not forget, they're also getting student loans, which is a net new revenue source, a net new job. That just seems wild to me.
I don't know who knows what's actually going to happen, but you're right. That sounds like a huge cluster, especially reducing your workforce by 50%. The good thing is, on the lending side, is that I work with PLPs, which they underwrite and do everything in house. So they're not going to get slowed down from a funding standpoint for, the loans we do in the SBA world. The other big change too, I didn't add this. 2 weeks ago, they said, look, before you could have people that were not U.S. citizens involved in the transaction. They could be a money partner. They could own 2% or whatever, as long as they're not the main borrower. That is gone. So we had a deal. Actually, a coworker had a deal, and like 2% of the deal was owned by a foreigner in another country. Nope. Got to get them out. Gone. So that changes the dynamic huge, because a lot of the deals we would get outside investors, and we don't get, if you're putting a deal together and you have a friend in Japan and they have good money, but now you can't do that. It's BS. But anyway, I understand it's for U.S. citizens. But I don't know. It's going to put wrinkles in everything
well, one of the things that I love about this, and I love you're on the channel, is, again, you're kind of the gatekeeper. You're taking interested parties, whether it be vending machines or franchises, and you're taking the heavy lifting. Nobody that gets on or follows this channel is going to deal with SBA or have any of that nonsense. You're going to protect them from all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I help you navigate the waters and find a business, fund a business, start a business. I mean, it's all very possible. I think I would say, after having hundreds and hundreds of thousands of calls a year, I would probably be at least 1,000 calls a year. The majority of the time, and I need to create a series of videos, because a lot of people call, like, I want to, buy a business, but it's like, okay, well, I can't help you. And like, I can help you find a franchise, or and so I'm going to create some kind of like curriculum, like step one here. This is what you need to do for financing, because everybody asks the same questions. It's like, hey, we want to buy this business. All right, we'll get 3 years of tax returns and the balance sheet of this business you're trying to buy. We'll spread the financials. So I got to kind of like create like incremental videos and just be like, here, this is this, and walk them, like even host them in like your school program, and just go here, like, here, watch these 5 videos, and you learn how they work. But it's a simple process, really. People think that SBA's super difficult. It's actually fairly easy, and it's one of the best vehicles out there to create wealth. In 100% support that after 20, 30 years of lending. Like, if you want to create wealth, I think it's an amazing vehicle to understand how SBA can help you get wealthy. And that's owning a business, obviously, owning the real estate that your business is in, rent replacement, and expanding and doing roll-ups. A lot of things we can do with it. It's a great product.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I know you've helped a lot of ORET fans do, and a lot more talking about it, is vending. Vending is like that appetizer to starting his business. It's great for tech workers, great for people that have full-time jobs, great for folks that maybe have teenage kids so they can get them into the business, helping them out. But let's just give a taste of vending. You could do 8-10 unit packages, I think.
Yeah, we could do minimums 4, 8, 10, 12, up to 20. the company we work with, or one of them, we work with two different ones. One of them will actually place the machines for you on the first batch you order. You spend about 1 hour per week per machine. Section 179, go ahead and Google that. See how that could offset your earned income. Right. And then if I could fund 90% of it, you buy $100,000 machines, I fund 90,000, you put down 10,000. I build $10,000 of working capital in the SBA. So you don't really put money down. It's all smoke and mirrors. Now I give you $100,000 tax write-off, and then you put them in good locations, and you're going to get some cash flow. Each of those little vending machines is a door. I call this the ultimate gateway business, because you know how many hours you're going to spend roughly. You know the pain points. Is a very systematized way. And yes, can you grow this into a full-time gig? Of course. We know somebody in the this one company that has 16 employees. So you imagine how many machines they have. And yes, you can sell these machines. So vending is like a great business. Obviously, some locations are not going to be great. Some of them are going to, and your job is, as you're learning, you're going to be assigned a coach. You're going to go to 2 days of full training, and you're also going to get a coach. What you want to do after you get your first batch out is figure out where you can start putting the machines that you're going to get a 2 or 3 times better. Then, instead of getting 100 vends, you get 200 vends per week. And that's good at putting them in the schools and things like that. And that's where you can really grow. And then what I would do is get into unattended retail as well, like multifamily property with 300 units. I put my unattended retail. I do fresh sandwiches, that kind of stuff. Those types of things can do, potentially $1,000 of revenue. You go to airports now, it's all unattended retail. So I love the space. It makes sense. And it's closest to like owning real estate. And of course, there's home service franchise, painting companies, all the things you want. Now, a lot of people, we've had a lot of ORAC guys go through the process, and they, some of them are like, well, it's just too much work at this point. So that's why I offer, it's not for everybody, but there's something for everybody. It could be vending. It could be more of a brick and mortar business where you put a general manager in. So you can do it, and you can leverage SBA financing. So it's a beautiful combination.
At the end of the day, if somebody wanted to talk to you about any and all of these, what do they do?
Just go to onerentalmeeting.com, onerentalmeeting.com. That is the only calendar that I don't. All my other calendars, I've made it more restrictive, meaning like I only have certain available time. For One Rental, I did not change anything, because usually, to be honest, you guys are much higher caliber people than the other groups. No offense to them, but so. And so I've kept it open, because a lot of people book calls, right? And that's fine. I'm serving my purpose, helping people. But I left it open for One Rental and consolidated, so that it's difficult for people to schedule, because I'm getting busy, which is a good thing, but also.
Yeah. Well, I like it. Again, I think there's lots of things that you can help people with. Again, we talked last week or the week before about a plan B with, what might be coming. I think getting a vending or, a general manager kind of business, painting, whatnot, is a great thing to think about. People need to go to onerentalmeeting.com. It's right there on the screen. Book a call, see what's what, ask your questions, see if it's right for you. Thanks, Bo.
Thank you.